Hey, microphone insiders. I'm AJ, and here is the shootout, part two, because we needed a second one because the first one raised some questions and we needed more microphones. We needed more microphones because we needed to add that Audio Technica to the mix, because enough people were like, yeah, that Audio Technica needs to be in this. So I went and got the Audio Technica, and then while I was at it, we got a really, really fancy Sennheiser. I tried to get my hands on the DPA 2017. I couldn't get one fast enough. I also tried to get my hands on one of the, what was it? It was the Rode NTG series shotguns that were somewhere around like $200-300, just to have another flavor of ice cream in the mix. But, there's 600 other people that work where I work that also like to take things out of the lending library and borrow things from reps, and they had them, so I couldn't get them. But anyways, here we are. We've got the Synco D2, which is what I'm running through right now, the 416 that I had from before, the Sennheiser MKH 8060, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and the Audio Technica AT875R, which is the beloved, even slightly lower budget shotgun, a little less expensive than the Synco D2. So we'll get to it. So the Synco D2, usually when you find a budget microphone, it's super bright because they think pouring a bunch of presence and high end into a microphone is what people want. But I was wildly surprised to find that it was a warm sounding microphone. And when we put it up against the tried and true 416, $1,000 shotgun, did it sound $800 better? I didn't think so. A perfectly fine microphone. It doesn't handle plosives as well, but I mean, as you get better as a voice actor, you learn to control that stuff, use your pop filter as you need it, learn to control your breathing better, all that jazz. Perfectly fine microphone. Perfectly fine to be using for voiceover and what you need to do to get the job done and book gigs. So just like before, I'm hot jacking, and I got to listen to some audio engineers cringe and grumble when they're like, I can't believe you're hot jacking with phantom power on. And I told them, these aren't my mics, I don't care. And the reps are like, they're samples, and you're doing shootouts and you're teaching people things. So be it. So here we go. So you're hearing the Synco D2. I'm going to turn compression off and my de-esser off. Hold on. Hey, this is it with a compressor on and a de-esser on. And I'm just going to turn those off. All right, so, there we go. We got a little bit more oomph there. No more compressor, no more de-esser. There they are. There's raw, no more raw. So here we are. No de-esser in the chain, no compressor in the chain. Here it is. Synco D2. So this is a $199 microphone, at least as long as the tariffs keep getting pushed. It's a hypercardioid. It's got 12 dB of self noise, which is more than acceptable. I believe that's right there in the range of the TLMs. Well known for working really well without breaking the bank. Hooray! I'm going to move from this to the $1,000 Sennheiser MKH 416. Here we go. Hot jacking. So, there's no fancy settings that are being changed. Pulling this cable out of here, right into there. No setting changes. And there it is. You can hear that there is definitely a quality change right there. It's not as warm, not as muffled. So it's a much cleaner sound. Distance. I've got my distance measured. I call it the hang 10. That's kind of standard. Much cleaner. Same amount of gain. It's definitely like, yeah, this is the $1,000 microphone, but it's not $800 better of a microphone. So it's one of those things. It's like $200 gets the job done. Man, if you've got the money to spend, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is the Sennheiser MKH 416. This has been the industry standard for a very long time. A very long time. $1,000 microphone, hypercardioid, 13 dB self noise. So 1 extra dB of self noise. So the Synco D2 is a little bit quieter. 1 dB is not something that you will be able to hear. If you tell me that you can hear 1 dB of difference, you're lying. 3 is audible difference. NASA tells you that. 3 is when you get audible difference. I really can't argue with them. You can argue with them. You go ahead. I won't. But yeah, 3 is where it makes that difference. Yeah, so from that to that, $800 difference, man, 800 is hard to justify. But like I said, if you've got the money to blow, have at it. Otherwise, just do the thing. I'm going to save the AT for last because I know everybody's like champing at the bit. And I did say champ, not chomp, because horses champ at the bit. They champ bits, not chomp. Little thing to be learned there. I'm going to move to the big boy, and we'll talk about the big boy. And this, we're going to go over here. All right. Ooh, okay. Actually, want to step back a little bit. Wow. Okay. So this, wow. This is the Sennheiser MKH 8060. This is $1,600. Holy smokes. Like I said, no change in settings. This is the exact same gain settings in my preamp. Holy smokes, that runs hot. Supercardioid instead of hypercardioid like the others, with the exception of the AT. That is not a traditional shotgun. I'll get into that once we get to that. It's a short shoddy, unlike the other two that are a traditional long standard length shotgun microphone. According to Sennheiser, and I'm starting to understand their thoughts on this, according to Sennheiser, the 8060 is the reimagining of the 416. So they said, hey, the 416 is beautiful. It's been the industry standard, but what if they were to think that the 416 never existed, and they were to rebuild a shotgun from the beginning and redesign and rebuild a 416 from the ground up with today's technology, today's parts. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, from the ground up. This is the reimagining. Like, this is if they were to build the 416 today, this is what it would be. And this is what they came up with, is the 8060. Man, this is holy. Okay. All right. So, damn, I've never wanted to buy a shotgun before. I've never wanted one. I have no need for a small diaphragm condenser. I just don't. That's kind of nice, though. It sounds really nice. Your mileage may vary. Your voice is not my voice. For my voice, I like how that sounds in my cans with my... I'll probably play around with this a bit more later. Anyways, I'm going to move on. My wife might hate me later. And my Sennheiser rep might love me later. Anyways, this is $1,600 though. Yeah. The 416, industry standard, the new 416. You're listening to this. You're listening to this. You hear it. I hope you understand why I'm being stupid right now. We are going to go and listen to this ever beloved 875R from Audio-Technica. I hope I'm blown away. I have never listened to it before. This will be my first time listening to it, like it's the first time listening to that. And let's see what happens. Here we go. Oh, there we are. And that's not bad either. Okay, so here we are. This is the Audio-Technica 875R, AT 875R. They always put AT in front of their model numbers. That's just what they do. So, this does not sound bad. It doesn't have the warmth behind it that the Synco does. That's make sure I've got my Hang 10 here. It doesn't have that warmth behind it that the Synco does. For my voice, well, as long as if I kind of have it more, like I have this more at my chin and not at my lips, I think, so why I said this is a little bit different than the other shotguns. They don't have this listed as they don't call it a hypercardioid. They don't call it a supercardioid. They call it a line plus gradient, a line gradient microphone. So what that means, so traditional shotguns, they still listed as a hypercardioid, supercardioid, and when you look that up, it's polar patterns. So when you look at microphones and you look at the back of the box and they show, they show a when you're looking at Alien versus Predator on the video games, and it's the radar screen. So that's the polar pattern, and what it is showing you how the microphone is it's showing the field of pickup, where it's getting its sound from. So with the 875R, it's wicked tight, wicked tight. So it's designed that way. It's super compact, which is also why its diffusion, its grill is designed different than the rest. It's not the slotted grill. It's this mesh. So it doesn't do it the same way that the others do because it's like super pointed. So like, see, I turn my head and it's almost dead, which is good, really good for voiceover. And that's why I think everybody really, really likes it. And that makes sense, especially for what we do. For me, I don't know if I like how clear it is, and clarity is key, right? We need clarity. And you can always tweak it in post, EQ wise. The longer I'm talking into it, the more I'm liking it. Right out of the bat, I thought it was a little brittle, almost like the old, well, not the old, because the older ones were better. The newer AKG C414s. And I know a lot of people like those for voiceover. I hate those things for voiceover. They're super, super bright and they're brittle. For voiceover, I think brittle is the death of a voice. And I almost call it crispy. And I think crispy almost has this air to it that I think maybe Nick out there might be able to understand it and maybe explain it in text later, where it's super, super hard to produce with and kind of master out and deal with in post. I think it's easier to deal with something where it's warmer and you can brighten it up rather it being too bright and trying to warm it down. If that makes any sense to anybody, maybe you can explain it better. I'm on way too much Red Bull right now. Anyways, but the longer I'm talking about through it, the more I'm liking it. But it sounded real brittle to me out of the gate. Maybe the mic has to warm up. But this makes sense. Now, while I was looking through specs on all the mics, the only thing I didn't like, but I'm not hearing it, is self noise. For me, the death of a mic for voiceover is self noise. This microphone, by the way, self noise on this is the lowest out of all of them at 11 dB, which is, I think, where the TLM 103 is. 11 dB. 11 dB, 12 dB, 13 dB. And they don't list this on any most of the websites that sell it. 20 dB. For me, for a voiceover microphone, death of choosing a voiceover microphone when I'm looking at specs, death of the microphone is at anything higher than 15. Especially if you're not in a treated environment. Just because if you're not in a well-treated environment, the inherent hiss of the microphone can hurt, especially if you're doing audiobook work. But good cables, a good interface, anything that will mitigate that will help. So, if you do this, there's nothing wrong with this microphone. And I understand why they love it. So, it'll get my stamp of approval, absolutely, especially the longer I talk into it. But that self-noise spec makes me worried. But good cables. Please don't go budget shopping for cables. You don't have to go Mogami Gold. because you don't have to go Mogami Gold. I I can do one of these videos just on cables, and you don't have to go Mogami Gold. I promise. Get good cables. Oh, little thing in the video. That's good. Get good cables. For the love of God, please get yourself a good interface with mic pre's that are clean and non-musical. I could go into that too. The guys that I was talking to last night in the insider Zoom chat heard me go on a whole frickin' thing about interfaces. There are interfaces that, I mean, not all interfaces are made equal. And the mic pre's, I would probably make some people in this group angry about that. But you know, I have spent a very long time testing, selling, and advising a very large number of people through a lot of mistakes that have been made. And I do this because I care. I don't get paid by any of these people to do this. I do this because I enjoy doing this, and I like to learn things from this. I have learned a lot just by doing this today. I have learned that the 416 very well may be dethroned as the staple. I've learned that this Audio-Technica has a high self-noise that I was unaware of. I also learned that it sounds, like I said, the longer I'm talking into it, the more I like it. So, yeah, your mileage may vary. And also, at the end of the day, if you're booking gigs, who gives a damn? If it works, it works. I know a guy who does a $250,000 in sales on Fiverr with a $50 Amazon USB mic. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got. I will gladly always, for free, talk to you about your gear, talk to you about someone else's gear. I will, yeah, because that's what I enjoy doing. Yeah, hit me on Facebook, hit me in chat, even just poke me in the group. But I share this on the Microphone Insider group, and I share this with the reps. Like, I'm going to share this with the Synco rep in the building. I share this with the Sennheiser rep. The Sennheiser rep is also the Neumann rep. And he's going to let me play with all the really high-end, crazy Neumann mics that I haven't tried out yet. That's going to be fun. That'll be later. But yeah, I'm just jabbering at this point. But there we have it. AT875R. Yeah, man. Use it. Have fun with it. Don't buy it off Amazon, though. Come on, stop sharing the Amazon link for it. If it breaks, yeah, it's cheap, but it's not cheap to everybody. If you buy it from where I work, at least, regardless of Audio-Technica's warranty, it comes from the place where I work. I don't like the name where I work. Just figure it out. It comes with a 2-year warranty, regardless of the manufacturer warranty. and a lifetime of support. Plus you have me. And you get candy in the box. Who doesn't like candy? It's root beer barrels and Bit-O-Honey. Man, I love Bit-O-Honey and root beer barrels. Shit, send me your candy. I'm a kid. I like this stuff. Anyways, love you. Catch you on the inside.